Hello and welcome to episode 1490 of The Sleeper and the Bus. It is Thursday, opening day, March 26th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined today by my guys, Joe Orrico and Justin Mason. What up, guys?
I'm doing well, although I'll push back just a little bit because my Blue Jays do not play until tomorrow, so it's not opening day for me until
Still
tomorrow.
opening day.
We have to
Can we just
stagger
put
it over
everyone on the
three
same
days.
game? Old man yelling at cloud going to be starting early here, folks, because we got a lot of stuff to be angry about. No, it's fine. Justin, how you doing, bud?
My legs are a little sore from all the victory laps I am
Oh,
running
my
right
God.
now.
Nauseating. Seriously, worst time of the year. It truly is.
Time of the year. I love this.
No, it's so stupid. Like,
Did
it's
you
just such
not
a
see
waste
my
of time.
screenshot yesterday of me being first overall in
I did
every
not.
league I was in? Oh,
I did not.
I
But good job. Good on you.
Literally took a screenshot like after the first pitch.
As
of
much
the
as we
game.
cannot wait for the season to start, the second it starts becomes the worst like 6 week period because it's so inactionable, generally speaking, unless playing time or injuries have caused changes. You generally are just waiting with the core of your team. And I know it doesn't make for great fantasy content, but it's very stupid to make moves off of these first few weeks, especially with anybody you put a real investment in. So I don't want to hear about schemes. I don't want to hear about, like, shut up.
Aaron
Seriously,
Judge is broken.
just shut up. Oh, you mad Paul Skeens as your 15 starter? Shut up. Who cares? Did you tell anybody beforehand? No, nobody gives a fuck. No, you didn't. And also, who gives a fuck? Okay? It's one start. You wouldn't have said this if you hadn't played like that. So shut up, dork. All right, so we're going to do some shallow league pickups today because the beauty of shallow leagues, and Justin, obviously you and I hit on it a lot when we're doing our shows together about how the shallower leagues have deeper pools, which means there's a lot of talent out there. The tough part is it can be hard to wade through at times. And I've talked about that being one of the issues I have with 10 and 12 teamers is sometimes I just can't identify like who to really keep chasing because you got to kind of keep cutting and chasing because you're trying to get those superstars. And so I'm holding guys that are like 15 team gems way too long. But you got to be burning and churning and looking for those great superstars that are going to come off of the waiver wire in shower leagues. So what we did was we took the OC that we were in, our 12 teamer, anyone under 50% roster rate. We made some little mini teams here with a catcher, a corner, a middle, an outfielder, a utility, couple of starters, and a reliever. And we're going to recommend some guys to start looking into here early in the season and maybe find that next hidden gem. So let's start behind the dish. And Joe, we're going to go with you and your guy. Who's your catcher here? Sub 50% in the RotoWire OC, which again is 12 team, 5x5. There's some depth to it, but there's going to be some available names. And again, we went under 50% too, so we jumped another level.
Yeah, this is a guy that I've liked for several years, and I've heard some people say like Alejandro Kirk light, and it's Keibert Ruiz, who has the job for the Nationals with Ford getting sent off. I think some people were a little bit surprised by that. I saw the ADPs over the final month or so of draft season. Ford had kind of gone ahead of Ruiz for a while. And Keybear's coming off of a washout year, 68 games. It was not a great season for him. And overall, if you're looking at, the real numbers, 92 WRC plus, 93, 70 over the last 3 full seasons, it's not amazing. But what he gives you is a serviceable batting average with decent plate discipline, a little bit of pop, 13 and 18 home runs respectively in those 2 seasons. And he's not a bad real life catcher. Like, he's serviceable enough that I think that he will probably still play. If they're sending Ford down, it means they're maybe a little bit worried about his development or don't want to start his clock yet. And Ruiz is still really young at 27 years old. So I think he will play 120, 130 games this year. If you are looking for a catcher replacement at some point over the next few weeks, I think Ruiz is a decent option. He wasn't a huge target for me outside of DC's, but now that he has the job, I think he could serve as a decent replacement this year if you need one.
Yeah, I think Ford cooled some of the interest in Ruiz because they just didn't know what the playing time was going to be like. Now that he's got the job, he could be somebody that maybe starts to turn those contact skills into talent. Justin, I know he's somebody that you used to like back in the day, hoping that he could kind of round into that Alejandro Kirk form that he has been compared to, and it's not quite come to fruition. Where do you stand with Keibert Ruiz these days?
I think he's kind of bad. And I'm going to just disagree with Joe pretty much with everything Joe said. Not only is he bad at the plate, he is just a terrible defensive catcher. Like, I don't think he's very good behind the plate at all. He hits the ball way too much on the ground to ever untap any of that power that is there. He had a 2% barrel rate last year, which, was down, of course, from 2024 when it was 3.2%. So, like, there's just not much power there. Like, he can probably hit for average, and maybe he doesn't hurt you in that regards. And he is going to play quite a bit in Washington until Harry Ford gets called up at some point. But there's just not anything there that interests me in Keegan Ruiz.
Well, he's not special. Like, I wouldn't say like there's anything truly special about him, but decent plate discipline. I agree, like the hard hit metrics are bad, but he does raise the ball at least a decent bit throughout his career. I know last year it took a bit of a downturn in the bit of a washout season, but the previous 2 years ground ball rates were 35 and 38. So I'm not saying that he's somebody that you should run to the waiver wire and grab, but I think there is some potential still for him to become a Kirk. And I agree. Like, I was a little bit off on the defensive side. He's not a good defensive player, but I think offensively speaking, you might be selling him a little bit short here. I think there's still he's not going to be Kirk, but like 80% of Kirk, 70% of Kirk, maybe. I think it's possible.
All right, tough guy. Who you got? No. We're good on Ruiz. We're good on Ruiz. We got to start moving forward on some things. There's nothing else that you're adding that's going to change the outlook. Go to your catcher.
I am going to my catcher, but okay. I was going to say, like, honestly, that this position, because we're talking about 2 catcher format,
right.
There's nothing here. Like,
it's pretty bad.
Like all the other ones, I was like, oh, that's a good name to talk about. Like, this is a good name to talk about.
Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I shouldn't have held us to sub 50 for catcher, just because we don't have to go that deep. That's fair. I'll eat that one then, because you're right. Yeah. But we'll stick with the guys we got here. But you probably don't have to be scraping for these guys outside of crazy deep leagues. That's a good point, Justin.
I went with Carson Kelly.
I like yours though. I'm sorry to interrupt. Right when we say that we went deep, I actually like Kelly with Chicago. So even accounting for the fact that we went sub 50, I still think you landed on a really good guy here.
Yeah, I mean, he had 17 home runs last year. He plays on a really good team. The park isn't great, but like, he's gonna get some counting stats as long as he's healthy. Health will be, one of the main issues for Kelly, who's struggled with health over the course of his career. But over the last 2 seasons, he's above, the 85%, league average for zone contact. So like, he's a guy who can put the ball in play, and he's got some pop. And yeah, like, if I'm in a 2 catcher league and I'm kind of playing the wire, like, Carson Kelly is probably the guy I'm playing the wire with, right? I'm going to hold him until someone else that's more interesting pops up. But I think he's going to have some, pretty decent value. And so far this year, he's hitting 500, 666, 500 so far.
Great pick. I mean, you're winning, man. You're clearly winning the competition. Oh, cool, Keith. Base hit.
There we go, baby.
It begins. The breakout begins now. No, I do like that. And again, we're looking at 2 catchers. I should have done 1 catcher and then lopped off, and then maybe said like we go 60% and below. And we could have talked about some different guys a little bit higher here. But this is for 2 catchers. Kelly would be a good pickup if you did need somebody. I like my guy too a bit. He's always, you mentioned health with your boy Kelly. Triple that for my guy Danny Jansen here.
Oh yeah.
Always having to worry about his health. It's a long-term issue, but when he plays, he's good, and he's usually good for a little double-digit homer. He only got 9 in 2024 and 94 games, but 14, 17, 15, 11, the 4 years around that. And if he were to ever magically stay healthy for 110 games, that's not even that many, but it would be a career high, which is now 107. If he could even do that, there might even be a 20 homer season in here, because he has the power for it. But he's never shown the ability to stay healthy. We'll see if Dan Jan can do it this year. Do either of you guys like Danny Jansen?
I loved him. As I said in our chat earlier, if you're a former Blue Jay, for the most part, I'm going to be endeared to you. But Danny Jansen, I always thought there was another level there. He has really good plate. He has always had really good plate skills. He doesn't chase a lot. The contact rates are pretty solid. The swinging strike rate's under 10% for almost all of his career. Good barrel metrics. The guy's played 100 games once, and he's going to be
ages ago too.
Years old. It was 2019, but he's put up like some seriously nice numbers. He put up a 141 WRC plus in half a season just 3-4 years ago. The year after it was 115. I agree with you. If he plays 110 games, he's good to go. And while he's healthy, put him in your lineup. No problem with it at all. If you have him in DCs as a 3rd catcher and your 2nd catcher is a little bit iffy, I wouldn't have any problem just playing Danjan while he's healthy.
Yeah, I think I would take a shot there too. But again, if you're playing 2 catchers leagues and you suffer an injury, you're probably in some trouble. Let's just be honest, because Especially if for some reason Kelly isn't available. I do like him the best. I really like your corner too, Justin. You're going to kick us off here with a first or third baseman. I know the guy who I kind of mentally pair him with, another prospect, Jordan Lawler. Your guys, Marcelo Meyer. I kind of mentally pair them. Everyone's high on Lawler, and I don't really hear much about Meyer. I think he has a chance to really be a breakout this year. What are you seeing with Meyer out in Boston?
I mean, I think Meyer ends up being more of kind of an accumulator over the course of his career, a guy who, when he plays every day, he is going to just load up on stats, but there's no real carrying tool. I guess he does have, decent power, at least raw power in the bat. I don't know how much it's going to translate to the game power this early in his career, but like he's a guy who can do a little bit of everything, and he's going to be playing second base, which I love because he starts the year with a third base eligibility. He's going to get the second base eligibility, kind of early on. And I like having that flexibility, especially in these shallow leagues, especially if you're in like a daily lineups league where you need to cover spots, on off days or early in the season when there's a lot of extra off days. So like, I don't know that he's ever going to turn into a star that like the prospect pedigree had for him coming up, because he was like a top 20 prospect coming up from the minors. But I do think that he can be kind of a valuable piece, a glue piece. And if you're getting off the wire in a 12-team league, I love that.
Joe, you like Marcelo Meyer, to do anything this year?
I came around on him a little bit at the end of drafts, but didn't end up actually picking him. I think I agree. He's not going to be like a superstar player, but can he give you potentially double-digit home runs and double-digit steals in a good lineup, in a good park? I think that of all the players we're going to talk about today, he might have the top 2 or 3 upside among the whole group here. Even without the star,
one upside.
Even without like superstar potential, I think he could still be like, we're talking about 12 teamers under 50% rostered. It's not a group of studs we're talking about today, but there's a potential for him to be really, really good this year. Upside, best case scenario is like 15 and 15, maybe something like that, maybe a little bit better.
Especially playing all the time. And we'll see if he takes a developmental step. I think it is probably going to be more 2027 that we're really going to be interested in Meyer after this year. And he's probably going to work his way up, push his way up the draft board and things like that. If he has this sort of, low double type season that you're talking about, 13, 15, 15 type year. But there is a chance for more. Like I said, if he takes that developmental step, if he's, has his plate skills in order, and I think it could be a lot of fun. My guy, I'm going a different route with it. I'm going with the first base power guy out in Colorado, TJ Rumfield, who ended up winning a job thanks to his big spring performance with 5 homers, 13 ribs, struck out just 3% of the time with a 6% swinging strike rate too. So he earned a lot of this lack of strikeout with the contact here, which is something that is in his profile. If you look at what TJ Rumfield's done in the minors, he's been somebody who's had some pop with the ability to make contact. Now, if this pop takes a step forward in Colorado, now we could be onto something. I want to say he was the return for Ryan McMahon. And so they got a chance right away to kind of turn this into something for one of their big cornerstones of recent years that they traded off. He won the first base job. And hey, at least at first blush before they fail, we're interested in Rockies pitchers pretty much inherently. So I think TJ Rumfield is somebody I'm taking a look at least by the time Colorado makes it back home. I know they start on the road, but you got a little bit of time to maybe adjust there and go pick them up. Justin, what do you think of TJ Rumfield for Colorado?
Was he part of that trade?
I don't know. I can look that up.
He was acquired for Angel Chivili.
Chivili? Okay.
Yeah. I like Rumfield. I don't think he's got much power. I think he is probably league average to below league average power. But what he does have is a good hit tool. And he has had that through the minor leagues, makes good swing decisions. So, and in Colorado, that's especially interesting, right? Because you get the added BABIP boost, from the thin air and kind of the extra large outfield there. So, like, I wouldn't expect him to be like a 25 homer guy or anything like that. But, like, I think there's a reasonable expectation where Rumfield could hit like 15 home runs with like a 280 kind of batting average.
Depends how well he eats up Coors, because I agree with you, the power's not off the charts, but league average power with that contact profile in Coors has a chance to really add up. So if he can just feast at home, or if he's solid on the road so he doesn't have to do it all at home, then you can start talking 20 something. But yeah, I would come in with a 15 to 17 expectation on Rumfield with the potential at 20.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who's had like 90% zone contacts throughout the minor leagues. So like
Yeah.
that's elite for a first baseman, especially. And I always want to bet on a hit tool first. When a guy comes up
Yes.
to the majors, I'll bet on that hit tool and hope that they can grow into more power. So I like Rumfield a lot. He would have been the guy I probably chose had you not already had him on your list.
Sweet. I like that. All right, Joe. Talk to us about your guy, Spencer Horwitz. I might have given up too early on him, to be honest. I loved him last year. It kind of went sideways with the injuries. I should have doubled down because he didn't really do anything to, dissuade my interest. But I didn't really get many shares this year. You like him to take a rise in Pittsburgh?
I do, and it's not an ideal ballpark situation, although the lineup has gotten better, so maybe that offsets some of the worries we'd normally have about Pittsburgh. I just want to see him over the course of a full season because what he's done over the last two partial years, a 127 and a 119 WRC plus, double-digit homers in around 100 games, around 400 plate appearances in each year. Really good plate skills and is going to hit for a good batting average. I don't think he's going to be an off-the-charts power asset. He's not going to steal a lot of bases, but I think as a guy that you can stick in there as a replacement, more as a bench option, but even as somebody, if you want to start him, like I think he is more geared towards 15s, but even in a 12, like we're talking about a career 122 WRC plus, a guy who again doesn't chase, 23% O swing, 90% zone contact. The swinging strike rate's only at 7%, an 8% barrel rate. Like there's a lot to go on here with Spencer Horwitz. So I think if you are looking for a corner, if you're looking for a first base replacement later in the year, I prefer him in a 15-team league, but I think even in 12, Spencer Horwitz could have some value here.
I had to go click my errors, so pardon me if you said this, but as I'm thinking about him, he kind of looks like Spencer Horwitz. Kind of looks like TJ Rumfield, not in course.
Yeah,
Justin, what do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think of Horwitz?
Yeah, I mean, I think a TJ Rumfield not in Coors is a pretty apt analogy right there. I think the only thing I'm worried about with Horwitz is like, is he going to platoon? I think he will for the most part. He was terrible against left-handed pitching last year, hit 186. And while this team is filled with a bunch of guys who probably should platoon, and they're not going to have enough platoon partners to actually make it work.
Right. You can only run so many.
I think I think this is almost like the opposite issue of some of the other chorus guys who are going to platoon, right? When we talk about Mickey Moniak and guys like Jake McCarthy, like if you can only use them 50% of the time because you want to use a guy like Horwitz on the road and not as much in Pittsburgh, and he's going to platoon. And now looking at a guy you're probably only thinking about using 30% of the time, and in a 12-team league, I don't know if I want a guy like that on my roster. I do like Horwitz. I just don't know, given the park, his lack of like real pop, will he be able to accumulate enough as a platoon player to make a difference in a 12-team league? I'm a little skeptical.
I think Horwitz is the kind of guy you stream for the week or two at a time that you need him and see if he takes a developmental step. Because as is, he really is just a streamer in 12s and probably even 15s. But if the step forward comes where maybe he clicks up the power, a half grade or a full grade, and, can express something where he's closer to 20s, then you might have something. But I love the plate skills, love the player. I think it's a good call out, Joe, to keep an eye on Spencer Horwitz. Let's go to the middle, and I'll kick us off here. And I did say I think I have the highest upside on the board because I really believe in Cole Young. I love what he did in the spring. This is a premium prospect for Seattle that really, really showed out in spring. Now, spring can only take you so far. So as great as those numbers are, he still has to do something in the regular season. But he went 6 homers, 3 steals. I love that he was running too. That could really be the key to a big fantasy season because he was first off, he didn't play a ton last year, only 54 games. So I don't know how much to put in to any of it. I wouldn't put a whole lot, but he only ran 6 times. But I like that he was 3 for 3, smashing the ball all over the place, solid plate skills. I know T-Mobile's going to hold him back. So no matter how good Cole Young can be, he's probably going to have to deal with that working against him. But for somebody who was very late drafted, if at all, and very available in 12s, I think there could be a breakout here because the playing time's guaranteed, and I just kind of want to take that shot and see if we catch lightning in a bottle with Cole Young. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I got no problem with that. I don't have too much to add. I think that he is a pretty solid player as currently constructed, and he's still 22 years old, so there is still room to grow. I think the park does hold him back a little bit, but I think it's a good profile to build off of. And I agree, last year, for pretty much any rookie, first sample size, I don't really look into it too much. It wasn't the end of the world. Like
You're
still
saying all
walking up.
projections are terrible and should be banished from the world?
I'm saying
Is that what
that
you're saying right now?
Joe hates numbers.
Joe hates science.
That's
Joe hates data.
disgusting, bro.
I
How
think
dare you?
if you're a player like this with this type of plate discipline, even with the bad park, I think there is a decent amount of upside that's not being accounted for. Specifically, if you're looking at the projections, they all have him stealing just a handful of bases. And I know
Right.
last year he went down to 5 steals, but the previous couple of years were 23, 22, 17. Over the course of a full season, especially as a young guy, it's more of an, not a statistical thing here, if you want to say Joe's anti-data for this one, that the younger guys, part of wanting to prove that they belong is just adding on those extra things that make them more valuable to the team. And one of them that they can do is try and steal more bases. And as a guy with, I think, decent speed with a history of stealing, maybe we see that tick up again this year. And I think that's where he'll beat the projections more than anywhere else is that
Right.
base total.
I think that's where I could win big with Cole Young. If he is somebody who runs wild, gets to 20 plus, then the bat just doesn't even have to be nearly as good, let alone, if it does, then all of a sudden we got the full scale breakout. Okay, I like both y'all's here too. We're going to go big power with Joe's. Nolan Gorman ready to do something. McGonigal ripping another double off the wall.
Really? Wow.
Okay, the tag was close. We'll see if he got it's a hit. But Tatis made a good throw. They called him safe. I don't think they're challenging. Anyway, sorry. Nolan Gorman, power.
Yeah, he's a guy that, we've talked about some really good plate discipline profiles today. And Nolan Gorman historically has not had that. He's been upwards of 37% strikeout rate in 2024. Last year, it was 34%. In spring training, though, he seemed like a little bit better in terms of the plate discipline. And I'd be willing to maybe buy in here as a speculative fab ad. He hit 3 home runs. He only had a 17% strikeout rate in spring training. And while the swinging strike rate isn't amazing, I can live with 13%. The previous 2 major league seasons was 14.5, 18.5. If he is getting that a little bit down and we're seeing a strikeout rate that is even like, I'm not expecting 17%, but if he's in the high 20s, maybe he's 28% strikeout rate. This is a guy who's dual eligible at second and at third, filling the middle and the corner, which is super, super valuable in terms of your setting lineups. More valuable in a 15, but even in a 12, I mean, this is a guy who has a 27 home run season and 450 some odd plate appearances just a couple years ago with some chip in speed. There are things working against him, like the bad lineup around him, but I think you could take worse chances than Nolan Gorman considering everything.
I don't even know that lineup is that bad. It's not good.
No, actually, I think it's
I
think it's bad, but I actually think that works in Nolan Gorman's favor, right? Because
Yeah,
I'll be honest, is Nolan Gorman a good baseball player? Not really.
he's
But
got a lot of good power.
he has a lot of power, and the Cardinals don't care. Like the Cardinals are just
Right. In terms of playing him, you absolutely
they're
agree to that
going to
end.
give him plenty of opportunities. Yes, you're going to have to figure out a way to make up for the average on Nolan Gorman, but he's second and third base eligible, which are 2 of the harder positions to fill in fantasy this year. And there's 40 homer potential in this bat. Yeah, maybe it's 205 with those 40 home runs, but you'll take 40 home runs off the waiver wire if
all
you
day.
need power. So.
And let me amend, because I agree, it's not a good lineup. But Weatherholt, Herrera, Burleson win in front of Gorman shouldn't be something that greatly impacts his ability to get runs and ribbies at a decent clip. Again, not talking 100 or anything like that. He'd probably hit 40 homers with 80 or something. But again, you would take that off the waiver wire even with a terrible average. So I like the call out. Go ahead, Justin.
They just have like guys like you've never heard of in the back end.
Right.
You know, like,
Nathan Church.
I have no idea who Nathan Church is. Like.
Why didn't they give it to Nelson Velasquez? I tell you why. It's because they wanted to do their full homegrown lineup. I cannot be convinced otherwise. They had an interloper in there with Nelson Velasquez penciled in after a huge spring. Greg, I don't know if you're listening. That's a great play. We went for it, and it didn't work. We'll see if he gets called up. But yeah, now Nathan Church is the guy over there. I don't know, whatever. Okay. Justin, you got one, obviously, that I adore. So let's go ahead and finish off middle with our boy Nim Nunes.
We've been talking about Nunes all year. We don't need, or all off season, like we don't need to go super deep. I just, he's going to play every day because he's good defensively. And I think he has the ability to steal 50 bases this year. He walks at a double-digit rate or has walked at a double-digit rate all throughout the minor leagues. Yeah, the hit tool is a little questionable. He may only hit like, 230 or something like that. But if he's walking at a 12% rate, you're not really going to care because he's going to get those stolen base attempts. And I think Washington will give him all the opportunities because he's so good defensively. There's a reason they moved Luis Garcia Jr. off a second over to first. They're trying to improve up the middle. And it's also a reason why Jacob Young is going to be playing every day in center. Who hit a home run today?
With a home run to right field in Wrigley. That is very hard to do for somebody with zero power. Absolutely crazy. Nick Pivetta getting absolutely cooked by the Tigers. Good thing I ranked him 178 coming into the year. I had that down. 178th is where I had him ranked. Guaranteed.
I'm really glad that Joe ruled on my side on the Nick Pivetta argument.
Oh yeah, that's right. He did. You're winning that right now. Well, that's all right. You know where I have him in 2 leagues? Best ball. Ain't hurting me right now because that one ain't gonna make the cut.
Should have taken him in worst ball.
I'd get some benefit there. Okay, so I'm with you on Nunes, of course. And since we last talked about him, his playing time has materialized. Like we were still in that kind of like we think he's going to push Garcia over to first, but it's not a guarantee. He did. He's here. He's playing. He's going to get his opportunity. Obviously, he needs the hit to stick, but I really think there's some talent there with Nim Nunes. I know he was a late helium guy that both you and I contributed to, and I'm here for it. By the way, he has a steal already, so he's a god. He got a steal in the game against the Cubs, so love it. All right, let's go on to the outfield, and we'll start with you, Joe, with another power guy. So you got 2 power guys for us in a row with Gorman and a guy from the Padres.
He is a power guy, but he's a power guy with a really good plate discipline profile as well. And it's Gavin Sheets. I think he's really underrated. Last year, he gave you the 19 homers, the 71 ribbies, 8% walk rate, and 19% strikeout rate with a 745 OPS, which doesn't sound crazy, but he came with a 252 batting average. It was a 340 expected WOBA. And, good zone contact, like we love to talk about here, 86% zone contact rate with a sub 10% swinging strike rate. 9.5% barrel, a 46% hard hit rate, and he's in a pretty decent spot in that Padres lineup. Whether he ends up hitting 5th or 6th consistently, he's got guys like Tatis, Merrill, Machado, and Bogarts hitting ahead of him. I think there's going to be an opportunity for him to drive in another 70 runs this year with the potential for 20-plus homers. He had a really nice spring, gave you 4 home runs. He walked way more than he struck out, gave you a 150 WRC+. So I drafted him a bunch on I didn't do a ton of DCs this year, but I have him on 3 of my 4 draft champion draft and hold leagues this year. And I don't understand why the price was so low. For a lot of the year, we were talking about late 300s, close to pick 400 in a lot of drafts. And I never really understood it then. I don't really get it now.
Didn't believe. Yeah, I don't know either. And I didn't really take advantage of it. I remember being on Gavin Sheets ages ago with the White Sox, waiting for him to break out. Now here he is, fully formed and looking pretty good with a full-time job still, or at least 2/3 of a job. Yeah, he might get platooned here and there. If they've got somebody, they could put Castellanos in, although he might be in for... it would be him and Sheets. I think that's a perfect platoon. But even as a strong side guy, who cares? With where we're picking up Sheets, we don't need a full-time player. I like the call out, and I like that he's a power guy who also, like you said, has plate skills, knows what he's doing up there, not just swinging from his heels all the time.
Yeah.
My guy is more in the swinging from his heels all the time and just going for it. But he's proven that it works time and time again, and it's Jorge Soler of the Los Angeles Angels. Anaheim. They ain't been Anaheim in like a decade, Paul. Anyway, they traded for him, and what does he do? He just hits for homers. And it was a lost season last year, only played half of it, 12 homers, 215 average, not great. When you leave this guy for dead, he emerges. 2022, 13 homers in 72 games with Miami. He's washed. He's 31, blah, blah, blah. 36 bombs, 250 average the next year. Now, are we getting 36 and 250 this year? I don't think so, because that's not really how it works. There's no guarantee that because he had a bad year, he'll bounce back. But what I'm saying is don't leave him for dead. And when he's healthy and playing, Jorge Soler is a proven power source. Might just be an occasional streamer, but I could see him sticking on some rosters for a while, too. I still think there's juice in the tank here at age 34 for Soler. Justin?
Yeah, I mean, all he does is hit homers when he's healthy, right? Like, it's just a matter of how long is he going to stay healthy for. So
you're pivoting for us off these power guys and give us a little Isaac Collins information.
Actually, I already pivoted off of Isaac Collins.
Go ahead.
You know what? Say victory lap all you want. Say first day. I'm going Jacob Young, baby.
You coward.
No, like I just... I think
No, I
he's
love
gonna.
it.
I think he's gonna play every day, and I think there's
We
40
gassed him last year, remember?
Yeah, he was my dude last year. He was like my most rostered player, and that hurt. But like I just think he's going to play every single day. He's a phenomenal defensive player. He's got a ton of speed. He's not going to hit 162 home runs. So don't project down. Like this may be his last home run until like July.
Right.
But like he could steal 40 bases, and if you're looking for speed late and a guy who is going to play every day, like I love Jacob Young.
Yeah, and that was the thing. That's why we were so gassed on him last year. With
Tyler
Jacob Young.
O'Neill's
Like,
at bat. O'Neill's at bat, and Joe Ryan is not in the game anymore.
we were like cheap speed. Oh, he just got a base hit up
Oh.
the middle. Sorry, I'm ahead of you.
Loser.
I mean, as soon as I clicked over, I saw the replay of it. So I mean,
yeah,
you got a
there it is.
hit, but we want that homer.
Yeah, we went. All right.
He's going for number 7 in a row, folks. If you're not familiar with Tyler O'Neill, he's a god. But anyway, yeah, like Jacob Young, good call out. Hopefully this year he cashes in. And if it's not cooking early, you just cut him. That's easy too.
Yeah, I mean,
you're
all
not
these
getting your
guys,
speed.
right? Like,
Well,
any
yeah,
of
yeah,
these-
yeah.
Any of these guys, like, if they're not doing what you think they can do, like, you cut them and go to the next guy.
Yeah, but I mean, especially with him because he has to give you speed. It's like, cool, thank you for the homer today, but I need those bags.
Yeah.
I'll get my homers elsewhere. All right, let's go to utility here where I just said take another hitter, guys, whoever you want. And Justin, you went back to an old friend of this show, someone that I moved off this year. I was tired of the Josh Young injuries. Tell us why we should maybe keep considering him because is he healthy right now at least?
Yeah, he's healthy right now. And we know Josh Young has power. Like, yes, he only hit 14 homers last year, but he got to stay on the field for most of the season, 511 plate appearances. There's 30 homers in this bat if he can stay on the field at some point. So I'm willing to take a gamble this year. And if he gets hurt, he's an easy cut, right? You just go, and third base, it's difficult, right? If you lose your third baseman, you could be in a lot of trouble. And Josh Young's usually sitting out there, especially in your 10s and 12s. And I think he's a good pickup.
Yeah, and if he can ever find some health, right? He is one of these guys who's been prone over the years to continuing to get hurt. They're starting to stack up. That doesn't mean that 150 can't happen. And that's probably going to be his best avenue to a breakout is just staying healthy because the skills are already there, as you pointed out.
Orioles got to run across. So Trevor Rogers still got a shot for a win here, baby.
Ooh, okay, let's go. And then you. Oh wait, no, sorry. You want the other thing. You want the Twins because you got a bunch of Taylor Rogers.
I do.
You're trying to get those twin saves. All right, let's see here. Sorry, let me pick up. So Josh Young, I like him. Good call out. Ooh, Joe, very good one. You and I are ending the hitters here on a couple of athletics. Give us that high-flying center fielder out there.
Yeah, I've been taking a lot of Denzel Clark at the end of all of my drafts, whether it was 12 or 15 teams, not all of them, but I have like 5 shares of Denzel Clark. The power speed mix, I think, could be really legit in that ballpark. I know people will probably see him as more of like a rabbit type, but he hit a home run last year without checking StatCast. It was like 470-ish feet, 480 feet. I don't know if you guys remember that. He hit a big one to go along with the potential for 30-plus stolen bases. In the minors last year, it was a bit of a washout. We're talking about 32 games. He still stole seven bases. In the majors, it was another 47 games where he stole 6 bases.
Never mind.
But we're talking about a couple of years with 30-plus steals in the minors to go along with double-digit homers, decent batting averages. The fact that he has a job secured is really important when you're shopping in the later rounds of drafts or even looking on the waiver wire. This guy's going to play. He's already one of the better defenders in baseball. And while his spring training was not good by any means, one thing that was positive was the strikeouts went down because a big worry for him is the strikeout rate. I know it came with a higher swinging strike rate, so it goes against conventions and maybe it doesn't stick, but at least we saw him get the strikeouts a little bit lower. It gives me a little bit of hope that he won't be a 30+% strikeout rate guy. He probably still will be, but at least it was a decent little sample we saw in terms of the plate discipline from him. I think the best case scenario here could be like 15 home runs with 40 stolen bases from him.
Yeah, and dropping the Ks would be the quickest path to doing that with Clark, not striking out so much. But he's got the amazing defense. That's going to guarantee his playing time when he's healthy, and he's healthy right now. So, yeah, I'm with you there. And I stuck with the A's, too. And, I'm being a little bit of a rube here on a couple of gigantic springs, but Max Muncy, the other, stood out to me with his spring. And, one of the things that we always talk about is that there are certain metrics in spring that have some merit to look at. They can be signal of an impending breakout. Doesn't guarantee anything, but time and again, it's been, strikeouts, walks, and power and stolen base attempts. If you're running a lot, there's a chance that you're going to be running in season. Well, he had a huge spring, did Max Muncy. Again, Max Muncy, the other. 5 homers, 6 doubles. He was absolutely ripping the piss out of the ball. And when you're talking about a 221 WRC plus, those extreme standout totals have again been known to show some signal for the upcoming season. It also came with a 438 BABIP, so he was running hot. I totally get all that with Max Muncy, but we know the park he plays in is going to help him too. We don't need him to be great. We just need him to not strike out 30% of the time like you did last year. You just can't do that when you're this Max Muncy.
Yeah.
The other Max Muncy can because he has power to do that. This Max Muncy has to be down closer to 25. So keep an eye on those strikeouts, and if he brings them down, they were at 22% in spring. I think he can do something. He also walked a bunch too. So it caught my eye. I'm keeping tabs on Max Muncy from the Athletics. Either of you guys look at him at all this year?
I picked him up off the wire in Tout Wars, I believe it was. I don't really believe in him. I don't think he's
I'm skeptical too, by the way. I want to be clear. It's my recommendation, but just to kind of keep tabs
just
on
a good park, and he's multi-position eligible in a lot of leagues, so it kind of makes sense.
We're turning over rocks here. We're paying him for gold.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the pitching side, and I'll kick us off here with our first starting pitcher with Sean Burke out in Chicago. Now, obviously, White Sox pitchers are not going to be, top of your list, but right now, not much is available. Depending on your depth of league, things are really picked over, so you're not going to be finding a ton of spots. Now, the tough part with Burke, and the reason that I'm tempering this expectation a little bit, is schedule does not start off hot. Trip to Milwaukee, he's part of the opening series. He gets game 2 on Friday. And then your Blue Jays, Joe, and then the Orioles. That's not easy. So that's really, really the tough part here. And that's why I'm not saying dive in and go crazy, because the schedule is dropping bombs all over the place. Even Davis Martin staying on the same team, who I maybe have even a little bit more interest in certain spots because he gets Miami, but then it's a 2-step with Toronto on the back end. So that's where I'm being careful. But the second half for Burke was a lot better. He really improved his stuff, and it got hidden because nobody was paying attention to the White Sox in the second half. And I just want to keep Sean Burke on the radar. Maybe it's a stash if you have a spot that can be long-term. And I know that goes against Nick Pollock's adage of having quick decisions, because this would not be that. But again, if you're turning over rocks looking for anything you can, he might be all right. Justin, what do you think of Sean Burke?
I don't think he's very good.
Well, tell us about shitty Brandon Pfaadt then, if you know so much about good pitchers.
Again, this one wasn't easy. And Joe took the guy that I probably would have
Yeah, Joe got the best of this trio for sure. I totally agree.
Do I trust that Brandon Pfaadt is going to be a new guy this year? Not really. And I don't think I drafted him anywhere this year, and
that's notable because Justin was the premier Brandon Pfaadt guy for a while. Now you quit him last year, but you didn't even jump back this year.
You tried to take him in something we did. Was it an OC or the Gladiator? You were mad when you got sniped.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Here's the thing: he's been throwing a cutter in spring and not throwing the fastball, which gets absolutely torched for homers all the time. So
I could hit one off. I mean, no, I couldn't, but theoretically.
So and he had really, really good results. Now, this isn't a guy that I would go pick up and start right away.
Well, because he gets the Dodgers to open, doesn't he?
Sure. I don't know if
he misses them. He misses them. He gets Detroit.
Yeah, well, I'm still not starting against
Detroit. Atlanta. That's not that fun either.
Yeah, but he's a guy that I would be keeping an eye on, putting on my watch list, maybe picking up and stashing if I have the room to do so. I mean, this is a guy who can throw a lot of innings, and in a kind of era of baseball where it's hard to find guys who can throw 140, 150 innings, Brandon Pfaadt can throw 180 and get strikeouts, right? So if he can keep the ball in the yard at a reasonable rate, it doesn't have to be league average rate, but just a reasonable rate, Brandon Pfaadt could be, an SP3.
Give me a 1-1 homer suppression, which is not that good.
Give me a 1-3 homer suppression with Brandon Pfaadt.
So bad still, and we're we'll take that.
I'll take a one. I mean, from a guy who does not walk people, he
has talent. There is arm talent here, and it's fair to at least keep him circled or on your radar so that you know what's going on with Brandon Pfaadt.
Full disclosure, I didn't draft him. So
and he's not really streamable at all to start. He gets Detroit, like I mentioned, Atlanta, and then a trip to Philly.
Yeah.
So you might just be kind of watching from the sidelines, but
he may be a guy you wait for other people to drop, honestly.
That's a good point too. But let me ask you this. What if he looks all right against one of these? Would you jump right away? If he cooks Detroit, are you jumping for that Atlanta start?
Yeah, I think I am.
Joe, what about you with Brandon Pfaadt?
I don't know about jumping. I might pick him up and see, but it's been a pretty rough few years for him. I think I need more than one good start to want to really put
You don't
him
get
in
that
there.
in today's fantasy. You get
Well,
one good inning and then you have to make a decision.
If I were going to pick him up, it would be an immediate start, especially in a 12, where I feel like I'd have better options. In a 15, maybe. In a 12,
I think too, like you want to like be careful too, because in spite of like what we saw today from some of the pitchers who are giving up a lot of runs and stuff like that, typically beginning of the season is less offense. It's a lot easier for pitchers, right? So like Brandon Pfaadt's one of those guys, at least for the first couple months, like
good point.
On a very, very short leash.
Yeah, if he's ahead of the batters, maybe you sneak a few starts. Again, I wouldn't touch the stove on Detroit yet, not because it's my Tigers, just because it's Pfaadt. But then if he's good there and you need somebody, maybe the Atlanta start isn't as terrifying. Okay, you move me a little. I'm at least keeping an eye on him. But as we said, Joe got the best of this bunch. The old steady stalwart who will be on 7 teams in every league every year. Talk to us about Michael Wacha.
Yeah, he probably shouldn't be, because I know he's not a sexy name, and I think a lot of people will think, well, in a 12, I need to shoot for the upside, and he has no upside. He's boring. The last year, the 90th percentile in 12-team Fab leagues was a 3.52 ERA and a 1.16 WHIP. Over the last 4 years, Michael Wacha has a 3.46 ERA and a 1.18 WHIP.
Hey, so he's good data there, bro.
So he's pretty much been a 90th percentile 12-team pitcher over the course of the last 4 seasons, which is 600 innings for him. And in this day and age, over 4 years, how many guys are throwing 600 innings?
That's downright workhorse behavior right there.
Yeah, it is.
There's only 30 pitchers over the last 4 years who've thrown at least 600 innings, and one of them is Kyle Freeland, and one of them is Tyler Anderson, and one of them is Charlie Morton. So that and Patrick Corbin in there. So some of it is bad volume. You're getting pretty good volume with Michael Wacha on a team that I think is going to be pretty decent this year. Like in my draft predictions, I picked them to win the Central. So
fuck you, dude.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that, but I
think I had them in the playoffs. I didn't have them winning Central.
In fairness, I didn't put your boys in the playoffs. So
whoa,
I know, and that's way bigger than what you did.
Really?
Yeah. World Series hangover. Suck it.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah, that's right. You know who else I put in? I clearly have been drinking. I put in Pittsburgh. I put them in the playoffs.
There were people who had them winning the division.
Wow. Okay,
like
I didn't go that far.
People
I love that. I respect it. I'm here for it. Anyway,
not with O'Neal Cruz playing center.
True. What were you saying, Joe?
I think Sal Stewart just got hurt.
Uh-oh. Don't say that. Tell me you were lying.
Oh, no.
Explain what's happening. You're scaring me.
He got a ball directly off his wrist, and his wrist did a bendy thing, and it doesn't.
Oh, come on, man. That's the worst reason.
Frank. Damn it.
That's the worst reason to lose a potential breakout is that they get hit early. I hate when that happens. All right, we got a couple more things to go through here. Let's focus up one more here. Another round of SPs. Let's start with another veteran stalwart here. Well, not a stalwart because wrong word, because he's not a stalwart. Because that implies like some stability that Michael Soroka does not have. But talent he does have. Can he put it together and stay at all healthy this year out in Arizona? Talk to us about Soroka, Joe.
No.
Sorry. I have
probably not.
I have 5 shares of Mike Soroka this year, and it was mostly if you're playing in ESPN 12 teamers or something. Do not go and run to pick up Mike Soroka because of that. That is mostly on deeper teams, 15-team draft champions, 12-team draft and hold type of leagues. But the skills have been pretty good, especially last year. The 4.52 ERA will stand out. The expected ERA was 3.53. And his Sierra was 3.78. He has a good strikeout minus walk rate, actually really good at 17.4%. And his whip was at 113. It feels like he is kind of rounding back into form to the guy who was really, really good to start his career. And I think people kind of forget about 2019 Mike Soroka and kind of the promise that showed a little bit. And then he just has been an injury washout. But it's been an injury washout ever since. And I understand people kind of forgetting about it. They probably should have. but the talent is still there, and it's almost even better than before. Because back when Mike Soroka was really good in 2019, it was a 20% strikeout rate, and now he's boosted that by a few points.
There was a little smoke and mirrors to it that was like he was a contact contact suppression sort of guy and had good defense in Atlanta helping him. But now, like you said, he's a little bit more dominant. His skills were good last year. I felt pretty good about loving him as much as I did. It didn't pan out because we only got 90 innings, so it didn't pan out from like a full season breakout. And the 4.52 ERA wasn't great either. But there was some streamability there, and he had a 113 whip. So I like the Soroka call. I think you did really well on both the pitchers that you found here. I think both, if they stay healthy, well, Waka, again, he stayed healthy. He's been a little bit of a workhorse. But if Soroka stays healthy, I think he's going to find bouts of streamer viability. Justin, what do you? Obviously, you don't agree with Soroka. Do you totally hate him, or are you just worried about the health?
I mean, I worry about the health. I also worry about like the 11% walk rate we saw in spring. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's fine. Like I said, this was
he had 16% last year, and then walked 8%. From what I can tell from his spring numbers against his career walk rates, he's working on shit, and he might have a wonky walk rate here and there. I wouldn't bug out on that necessarily. For Soroka.
I just mostly it's the health. I just don't trust it.
That's fair.
Healthy. So
again, we're scraping here. We're scraping, and I'm going full homer because it can actually work here, and he's on the waiver wire in a lot of leagues. It's Justin Verlander. And, what I would really point you to is what was been floating around the fantasy community kind of late in draft season here, which was the end of his season. Basically the second half even, it was just a hell of a lot better. Verlander looked pretty strong to the point where he threw 75 innings of a 2.99 ERA. Now, it came with a 1.30 whip. So that 2.99 ERA is just not this pristine, don't worry about it, this is so great. But the fact of it is that his core skills were a lot better than the Verlander we'd seen when he was going back and forth between being hurt. And then if you look at a couple of duds there too, if you're like, okay, well, the Washington one you'd have eaten, but you probably would have avoided the San Diego one. So you could even say, okay, maybe he got a little bit of a better ERA. But it was 60 strikeouts and 18 walks in his last 63 innings. I think a healthy Verlander is still pretty darn good. And Justin is challenging my call.
I'm challenging Andrew Abbott getting a strikeout on Trevor Story right here. I don't know why he didn't hit his helmet. It was above the zone.
Damn.
Just a quick update, by the way. Sal took a 110-mile-an-hour liner off the wrist, but he stayed in the game.
Yeah, he's playing first right now. So
that's good. By the way, I should have put Verlander in my piece today that I did about 5 guys with the schedule, because after Arizona, which is an okay trip, I don't love it, I don't hate it, he gets St. Louis, Miami, and then KC, which is not bad. KC in Detroit, too, so he gets him in the better venue. So that's not a bad setup there for JV. Either of you guys interested in him?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Like he's one of those guys that he'll be a start-to-start streamer if I pick him up, right?
For
like,
sure.
You're not going to use him every time out. You want to watch how he's throwing. I mean, dude's ancient. Like at this point,
I know.
I love him. He was one of the first guys I ever drafted. Like I remember getting him in my original AL only home league. It was a keeper league. Anytime you pick someone up off of the waiver wire, they were $10, right?
Okay.
And so I got rookie Justin Verlander for $10 for the first 3 years of his career. And I mean, like,
wow.
I think it was one of my first years playing fantasy. I
So
do not understand how Andrew Abbott keeps doing what he's doing. I just don't get it.
He's trying to bother you. He can't keep getting away with it?
I do. I feel like I'm Jesse in Breaking Bad. Like, I just can't keep getting away with this.
I took him in our OC because he fell to the
I know.
reserve round, and then I put him on my bench today because I didn't trust him against the Red Sox. So there you have it.
I think that's the right move.
No free look there, huh?
All right.
The process over results league is going to absolutely dig that.
Process over results is every league. 6 months, your better processes are going to win.
I know.
Justin, we went with a couple old heads. You went to the upshot, young star, or not youngster, trying to break through here. Talk to us about Slade Cecconi for Cleveland.
Again, just scraping the bottom of the barrel. But Cecconi was a guy coming up from the minor leagues that I really liked his stuff. And I felt like people were not giving him enough credit for like how good of stuff he had. I know we haven't seen it in the major leagues where he's getting a bunch of strikeouts, but we saw he had a 25% strikeout rate in spring training. You know that Cleveland is a really good pitching organization. They let him make the rotation. I think he's going to be a guy who can throw a good amount of innings this year. And if that strikeout rate kind of upticks to that 25% mark, you're getting a really, really good pitcher off the wire.
Yeah, I think it's certainly possible there. I'm with you on liking Cleveland with their development, always looking at what they got going on with their pitchers to see who's up next. Ciccone could be up next, and he starts a little bit difficult with the schedule. Trip to Seattle, you like the venue, but the lineup's pretty tough. And then the Cubs at home, and they're just tough in general. But again, this is one where if he starts making some noise in those two starts, I really want him for that third week at Atlanta, at St. Louis. I don't love the at Atlanta that much, but if he's pitching well and I'm confident enough in him that I want a two-step, I love that he has at St. Louis on the back end of that. Joe, what do you think of Ciccone?
No, I
Beat
like
it
it
out.
a lot.
Beat it out. Infield hit for McGonigal. He's 3-3. I'm sorry. Or 3-for-3. I'm sorry I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, I'm happy because I've drafted McGonigal.
That
on
$22 McGonigal had to make it pick and out. It's looking great right now.
Let's go, baby.
He went for
Sorry,
$22.
Slade Ciccone. Did Justin pay it?
I paid $22 for him because I had too much money left at the end of the auction.
Yeah, he overpaid for him. Why not?
Yeah.
And maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't overpay. Maybe you underpaid. Maybe you got a bargain.
I overpaid, but
got a bargain.
If I get $22 worth of value, I'll be stoked.
There
He
you
will
go.
definitely be the best of Griffin, Weatherholt, and McGonigal. McGonigal will be the best. this year.
Weatherholt hit a homer.
I was gonna say, man, don't sleep on
Well, maybe it's
Weatherholt.
Weatherholt then. I don't know. Maybe it's what. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Not because of that, but I think
No.
I think McGonigal and Weatherholt were the two to draft. Their prices were way better.
Yeah, absolutely.
They
just think
Weatherholt
McGonigal's
was
a
the
better player.
easiest to draft from a bankable roster spot position.
Yes.
Then McGonigal, and then Griffin, and Griffin was the most expensive, and I get why, because he's awesome and he's going to be a stud, but not yet. All right, Slade Ciccone finishes up, and then we'll do relievers real fast.
No, I was just gonna say I like investing in pitchers who have a solid command base early on in their career, and they're not somebody who's trying to work down a 12 or 13% walk rate. He's always
That's a
had
good
really
point.
good command, and I think the strikeouts will potentially come along. And the forgotten fantasy category, investing in pitchers who have a really good whip. You've mentioned this, Paul, the high ERA, low whip. This is like
Yes.
the Nick Pivetta blueprint before he actually had the really good year last year, is that he would have the 4+ ERAs and then it'd be like a 115 whip. And despite Ciccone having a 4.30 ERA, it was a 119 whip last year. He's changed his fastball, so now he's throwing a sinker as well. Or he started doing that last year, but we'll see how that carries over into this year. So I'm in. I'm interested as well. Yeah, I like him. A lot of words to say. I like Slade Ciccone.
With it. All right, let's finish off with some reliever specs. Now, this is remarkably difficult, folks. Okay, so we're going to give our thoughts. You don't need to pick these guys up unless you're super scraping and you're already on like oh, baby, Dylan Dingler. Boom, 2-run shot. Tigers absolutely cooking the Padres. Who's your daddy? Let's go. All right, so again, deep specs here on some relievers who could maybe fall into jobs. Joe's is at least around the job. Justin, mine and yours are a little bit further away. Who do you got here?
I mean, mine's not further away because the Pirates said they're.
Where is? Oh, Soto's with the Pirates. Okay, yeah. No,
The-
go ahead.
and
Go ahead with
Pirates-
Soto.
The Pirates said they're going to give Soto save opportunities.
That's
to
right.
start
He's going to
year.
get the lefty ones.
So I do think it's probably going to be a share job with Santana, but I think Soto's going to get opportunities, early on. So if you're looking for just some cheap saves, I think we do think Pittsburgh's going to be better than they showed this year and they showed last year.
Where would you roster him right now with Soto? Would you get him in a 15 at all, or in a
yeah,
12?
I picked him up in Tout Wars, which is a 15.
Okay.
To replace Kirby Yates. In a 12, I think I might. I mean, the one guy we didn't put on the list we probably should talk about is Jordan Romano.
Oh yeah, I'm supposed to open with him. My fault.
But he's also not very good.
Right. Okay. So yeah, double point there. Kirby Yates was the expected guy. He came up with a sneak injury. So now people are pointing to Romano. None of the three of us picked him.
I think
we're
it
not really
might
that
be a
sold on him.
committee.
I think so
right?
too.
They've got Drew Pomeranz, and weirdly, I was just scrolling through Twitter, and all of a sudden, I see a couple commentators talking about that work for the Angels network and talking about who would be the sneaky guy for saves.
Robert Urania will be a sneaky guy.
Well, and Mark Trumbo's Sam Bachman.
Oh, okay.
He really likes Sam Bachman's stuff, and I was like, fuck, I love Mark Trumbo. So
So you're all about where Trump. Well, he throws 96, can
Yeah.
miss some bats. He's a classic, doesn't know where it's going type of arm Bachman is. But he's interesting. I threw out Walbert Urania there because I was trying to guess who you were going to say. I thought maybe that was it. This dude throws 100-mile-an-hour sinkers. But he is one of these guys like Dustin May where he has these sexy looking pitches, but they don't get any swings and misses.
Yeah.
So he still kind of needs to figure out how to do that. But keep him in mind, Walbert Urania, as a super deep, like into the season sort of guy who could maybe make some noise.
I also think it's just a nightmare. And this is why I didn't put Romano on the list for myself.
Yeah.
Was like, I don't know who it's going to be. I think it could be a bunch of different arms till Kirby Yates comes back. And then I think Kirby Yates probably takes it back once he gets there. Which is
Javier
happening.
Baez got a successful challenge, motherfuckers. We're going to the World Series. Everything's coming up, Tigers. A successful challenge on a pitch outside that he did not swing at, and then he turned it into a base hit. We're going to the series.
I think the did not swing at it's the weirdest part about that whole.
Yeah.
Right. That's how, like, I can't believe that he got a call. And then I love you, Javi. Atta baby.
So let me add one more
go
point
ahead.
about Romano and the Angels.
Yes.
How many times are they going to hand the ball over to the pen with a lead this year?
That's
Probably not
the
too many
point
times.
too. And how many times before Yates even gets back in terms of like running out and getting Romano just
And
because he might get
why,
the save.
That's why I didn't really care that much about talking about like.
No, that's
I know
fine.
We should
I
talk
just-
about him, but like they're literally, their rotation is absolutely atrocious. Like,
Yeah, I think we need to be preaching
awful.
caution on not putting some crazy bid on Romano this weekend,
No.
even if he gets a save.
Yes.
Is what we're coming down to. Because if he does go out and get a save, let alone two crazily, let's say
he's
they
gonna
beat
be
the
$100+
Astros.
bucks.
That's
a
what
lot
I'm
of
afraid
leagues.
of.
No,
Don't do that. Don't
can't
do that. I don't care if he gets two saves. Don't do, because you don't get the two
hope
saves.
He does. Like I really
Well, yeah,
hope he does.
we want-
Honestly,
our-
I do too.
We want our opponents to make mistakes, but we
Yeah.
want our listeners to make the right moves. And so, unless you're in a league with us, make all the wrong moves.
I've said it throughout the show. Like former Blue Jays, I tend to be a little more favorable towards, and I have no interest in Jordan Romano. And he's Canadian too. And he's Canadian
I know the
former
double
Blue Jays.
dip.
So,
The double
like,
dip, and you don't even
I
like him.
can't do it. Then
His health is just such a disaster. Pomeranz is the lefty, so he'll probably get those. Bachman, who Trumbo threw out. Walbert Urena, like I said, is buried, but he's got nasty stuff. Just stay away from the Angels. Justin recommended Soto, who's at least a third of the saves, we could say. 2/3 Santana, a third Soto. Lefty righty breakdown there.
Yeah.
Joe, you did bring up somebody who's circling around the Athletics job. I don't think Justin Sterner's the guy, but talk to us about what's going on out there with the Athletics and Sterner specifically, who you recommended.
it all comes full circle because Jason Collette was actually the one who put me onto him. And
go.
I know that Justin is more on the Hogan Harris side of things.
Mm-hmm.
As a lefty who I think is a worse pitcher than Sterner, even if Harris does start out and get the first couple of opportunities, I just can't see that being something that happens consistently throughout the year. That's kind of where I'm at. How many lefties are given full-time closer jobs around the league? It's only the elite lefties that get there.
Honestly,
really.
I'm going to back off of my Hogan Harris love.
Okay.
Mostly not anything to do with Harris, but I didn't realize he's the only lefty in the bullpen.
That was the tough part, because I think we talked about that during the OC, because you brought him up, and I did say, like, hey, he's the only lefty, and that could be the bias against him.
Yeah, but then
So you do have
it
to be
could be
careful
like
with that.
Mark Leiter Jr. too, right? Like or Scott Barlow, who has quote unquote closing experience, right? Like, as much as I do agree with you, I think Sterner is the best pitcher in that bullpen. He should get the job, but like that doesn't always mean things for fantasy, right? Like oftentimes teams will put a guy like Sterner. We're seeing it like Urseg in Kansas City, right? Like, yeah, Urseg's like the best pitcher in that bullpen, but he's going to be kind of the fireman. He's going to come in whenever it's most opportune for the team,
Right.
So I worry about that for Sterner. I do think if you're taking a spec, Sterner probably is the right call though, because he is the best pitcher there.
Do you guys put anything into the whole, like, having experience up with the ninth inning and all that?
Oh, I absolutely do. And
Yeah,
that's why I think like Scott Barlow could be the guy or someone like that.
Yeah. Well, because the
So
thing of it
pissed.
is like, even if you don't yourself, teams do. So you need to figure out which teams do and which
Exactly.
teams don't. You might be against it. You might say it's a bad principle, but we still have to, work with the managers that we're dealing with. And some of them really love the experience piece. So if you hear somebody say that and they're the manager, they're the ones in charge. All right. Mine is obviously like a Hail Mary spec, because obviously, Tanner Scott's not going to be getting any saves with Edwin Diaz there. Outside of the occasional one, he could get the lefty saves. But this is just like, hey, I have a spot to hold a reliever. And if something happened to Diaz, this guy that they paid $1 million, actually, I tried to say $1 million as if that's a big number. That's not even that's not even like an outsized number in any way, shape, or form. I'm such an idiot. This guy who they paid $1 billion to, I think would get the job. I know Scott was an absolute bust last year, but if anything happened to Diaz, I think they would turn to Scott first. What do you guys think?
I think they would probably turn to Scott, but
Yeah.
I think there's an outside chance that they turn to Roki at some point because I think he's headed
Depending
to the
on where he was at the time. Because right
Yeah.
now he is a horrendously bad pitcher.
He's awful. He's terrible.
It's not forever. I believe in him like long term. I would still like get him in a dynasty league or something like that. But right now, no, he has no business being in that rotation.
Hell,
So-
he's pumping 100 right now, looking fantastic. Just
Wish I had more of him already. Before
I
even
I don't even think I got him in any league, and now I'm regretting
Really?
it.
I really tried to diversify
It
my.
was. I wasn't avoiding him or anything like that. I
Okay.
never. Either I got a closer earlier or like someone would snipe me on him. He just threw 101 right past Josh Bell for the second out. Like that is and throwing like 90-mile-an-hour splitter. Like just it's unfair.
My penchant for the tippy top closers is why I don't have a ton of Helsley, but I did get
Yeah.
that OC share on Sunday.
Yeah. No,
So I made sure to at least get in the game there. By the way, if you're on YouTube, I changed the camera to Char now since she.
Oh
came
yeah,
over and laid in
I
her
noticed
bed.
that. I was like, as soon as you started talking about Tanner Scott for some reason, you got out of frame.
Yeah, I wanted to blame it on. If it goes south, I want Char to
Yeah.
catch the blame for that one. All right, well that's gonna do it for our Thursday app. Look at that, right on time. We said we had an hour, and it's been an hour. We're never on time for stuff. Look at that.
Pretty rare for us. Pretty rare
We're
for us.
we're starting off the season beautifully. So, gentlemen, have a good time watching games tonight. Justin, you guys are off today and Sunday. You know that, right? The Giants.
Yeah, I know it's
The
lame.
Sunday off. That's the weirdest thing ever. I
They
cannot
butchered
get
it.
used.
I complain about it every year, and I,
I-
know like they want to like make sure like rainouts and things like that are covered.
That
and-
part I'm fine with, but the no Sunday is stupid.
yeah.
You do the bump, you
Especially
do
'cause
the bumper day.
we have a massive storm coming in, like Sunday, Monday, into San Francisco. So like, there's a really good chance that one gets rained out, anyways.
Oh well, then maybe it's for the better that they're not
Yeah.
playing this Sunday then in particular. But anyway, enjoy baseball. We'll be back tomorrow. I think we're gonna do 2 starts. Is that what we're gonna do on the?
Yeah, we're
Fridays?
gonna do 2 starts.
Yeah, we're still
early
gonna
in
be
the
doing
morning,
2
baby.
starts on Fridays, and then Justin and Jason will be on Sundays, and then we'll be on Mondays as well. Joe, you can be with us on Mondays regularly.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think
good.
we can
Just
make that
making
work.
sure. Just making sure. All right, the season has started, gentlemen. I will talk to y'all later. Enjoy your weekend.
Go Jacob Young.
See you, boys.
Woo.